journey from just being me, and you're listening to the Learning to Love Yourself podcast, the show that inspires you to put yourself first.
Learning to love yourself on the path to happiness. Learning to love yourself on the path to happiness.
Before we dive into today's episode, I've got something really powerful for you. If you've ever found yourself stuck in self-doubt, constantly second-guessing your decisions, or feeling like you just can't trust yourself, you're not alone. But the good thing is, it doesn't have to stay that way. I've created something to help you take that very first step, because that's the hardest one. It's called the Self-Belief Checklist, and it's a free tool to help you spot exactly where you're getting stuck and where you can start shifting things today. So look down in the show notes and get your free copy now. Welcome back to the podcast. And today we're with the very fabulous Helen Walker. And she's here today to share a little bit about her journey and what that aha moment was when she realized she had to turn her world around. Morning, Helen. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. It's lovely to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. The sun is shining, so I can't complain.
Nobody can complain when the sun's shining in the UK, can they?
It's like a different country when the sun's out, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Helen, tell us a little bit about your journey towards that aha moment. What were the things that you struggled with?
For me, it impacted everything. It was this unbelievable lack of self-belief. And if I'm really honest, a lack of self-worth and self-love, which I don't think I'm alone in. I think more people...
Absolutely not.
more people are expressing how they've really felt. And I think a lot of people experience exactly what I went through. And it didn't just impact one area of my life. It impacted every area of my life, which, I mean, it's bound to. But
Helen, can I ask you, did you realise that at the time?
That
it was your lack of self-belief that impacted everything in your life?
No, I had no idea. I just thought I wasn't very good. And because it impacted work. So I just thought, well, I'm just not very good and everyone's better than me.
Wow.
It impacted how I showed up with my friends. And I just thought, well, everyone's more interested than me. Everyone's funnier than me. Everyone's got a better story than me. It impacted my choice of romantic partner. So I would date forgive the description, but every knobhead out there who just treated me like a second-class citizen, dirt, had no respect for me. And I just thought, well, it's because I'm not as good looking as everybody else, and I'm not fun to be around, and I'm not lovable. I was almost like just grateful that you want to spend time with me. And that, at the time, I didn't realize that it was because I had this, I didn't have any self-belief. I didn't have any self-love.
It's so amazing how many of us didn't, because I didn't, go back into my past, and I didn't. And it's so amazing how many people just don't have that, do they?
No, and you don't realize, you just don't realize how it's impacting every decision you make, because it's just impacting every thought you have about yourself.
Absolutely, because there's no self-belief. So consequently, you believe all of the things that have just been put in there when you were little at your core level.
And and I've done so much work on, reprogramming these beliefs and understanding and therapy and spiritual work and all the realms. I've done it all. But you don't realize at the time that you think people have these negative views about themselves if they've been through a really traumatic childhood or something really bad has happened to them. But when I look back, I had a lovely childhood. I have a great relationship with my parents. But the thing is, unfortunately, we are raised by flawed humans.
Absolutely.
Who, inadvertently put these beliefs in our heads. And actually, it comes from a really good place. So my dad, for example, is really good at maths. And well, I was going to say I wasn't, but I was 7. So I probably was all right for a 7-year-old. But his belief system was, if you can't add up, if you can't do mental arithmetic, you won't get a good job. So he pushed me and pushed me and pushed me to be able to do mental arithmetic and times tables and all that stuff. And I suppose the pressure to perform and to achieve, it got the better of me. So I told myself this story that I'm no good at maths and I can't add up. And it kind of manifested into something bigger that, well, I'm just not very good. I'm not as clever as everybody else. Now, that didn't come from my dad being mean. It came from him wanting the best for me, you know, loving the bones of me. So I always thought, oh, you grow up with all this mental stuff if you've gone through something horrific. And actually, you don't have to go through anything.
It's amazing, Helen, because actually this morning I've been writing a whole section of work that I'm going to be putting out about the fact that actually, you know, we don't really, if we say the word trauma, we do expect massive things, don't we? And it can be as simple as one of the examples I've used this morning is you have sat in class, you have witnessed somebody else put their hand up, and then they have been ridiculed for the answer they had, or they've got it wrong, or something negative happened. And at that point you go, oh, I'm not putting my hand up. I'm not putting my head above the parapet. And because the brain loves to take those things and just generalize it across the board, it's, yeah, no, don't step forward for that. Don't step forward for that job interview. You're not clever enough for that. What happens if somebody treats you, you know, and it's all subconscious. It's not even something that you're thinking particularly as you get older, is it?
Well, that's exactly what happened to me. So again, coming back to the maths thing, at parents' evening, my dad said, I'd really like her to have some extra maths homework to help her. So of course the teacher said yes. And looking back as an adult with hindsight, I can almost see what happened that day. I was in the classroom and I remember it vividly. I remember what I was wearing. I remember the weather. I remember where I was sat. I remember how I felt. And I think it was towards the end of the day, and I think the teacher had forgotten to give me this maths homework book. So she'd seen it on the side as she's pottering about and we're doing our work. And she picked up the book and in front of the entire class, she went, Helen Walker, shouted my name. Now, of course, at this age, 7, 8, your friends are everything. You know, you want to be in the cool gang. You don't want to be left out. So she taps on this book and she said, you need to take this home to do some extra maths homework. Now, at that moment in time, of course, every other kid looked round. See, why is Helen Walker getting extra work?
Yeah.
And the cool kid, he's dead good at football, so all the boys wanted to play with him. He was quite good looking, so all the girls fancied him. He started to laugh, and he'd laughed in my face. Well, of course, everybody else followed suit. The cool kid's laughing, so we'll all join in. So everybody started laughing and sniggering at me. And from that moment on, there was something that got locked in my mind that you are not as good as everybody else. You will need to work harder than anybody else. So, of course, how that's manifested in my life is I was the first one in the office. I was the last to leave. I've worked in sales my entire life. I was given a target. I would always smash that target because I have to work hard and I have to prove myself. I have to work harder than everybody else. Even when it came to my own business. And if I'm honest, it's still something I've got to work on because I could be a complete workaholic. Every spare moment I could work on my business. Now I'm lucky because I love what I do, but it's not healthy for this to be your entire life.
There has to be a balance, doesn't there?
Absolutely, there has to be balance. But because there is this underlying, you're not as good as everybody else, I have to make sure that I catch myself and that thinking of, am I working because this really needs to be done and I want to do it? Or am I working because there's this little gremlin going, you're not as good as everybody else. If you want people to buy, then you'll have to do more work. So it's just catching yourself and going, actually, I can step away from my desk. I can go outside and enjoy the sun.
And actually, it's really important for you to go outside and enjoy the sun. It's really important for you to step away from things. It's really important for you to have a balance. So what was the moment, Helen, that actually tipped you over to go, oh, I can't be doing this? Because you obviously know quite a lot. I mean, it's a very vivid memory for you, isn't it? So you've understood a lot of what's going on for you, because for some people, they don't understand because it's in their subconscious, not in their conscious. Whereas you found that memory, you know what that is. So what was the moment that kind of went, okay, no, I need to stop being like this. I need to stop this happening.
Well, I've done so much work on understanding why I have these thoughts and why our brain does what it does and neuroscience. And I've really geeked out on this stuff.
I know, it's great, isn't it?
It's my favorite subject of choice. I could talk about it all day.
Yeah.
And the reason I got into that was because I got to I can only describe it as a breaking point.
Yeah.
Where I'd done therapy and I was like, why am I dating these horrible men and why am I accepting this and blah, blah. But nothing was really changing. And then I got into all this neuroscience geeky stuff after. It was a really embarrassing story. And for a long time, I had a lot of shame around it and I would never tell people. But I found my so-called boyfriend in bed with a so-called friend at a party. And I lived overseas and some friends from England had come across and they were witness to all this. And it was at that moment, I just went, something has to change. How many times can these men humiliate me before I go, you're not allowed to treat me like this? And it was at that point when, my friends left, I slung him out, I got my own place and started to rebuild my life. And then I was like, right, I'm going to work out what's going on here. Because something needs to change. Going to therapy was brilliant and talking about it because it helped me understand why I was thinking that way. But I thought I need a way forward now. Can't just keep talking about it and understand where it comes. I need to get out of this.
And let's be very clear at this moment in time, Helen, that there are all sorts of different ways. Because if you work with me, we don't just talk about it. We work it out. We find the memory and we reprogram and we move you forward. There's all sorts of different ways, isn't there?
And that's what I've worked on in the last few years is going, right, we need to look at it and we need to get rid of it and sort it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's, so many different ways to fix it. But I think you've got to be the one to go, right, enough is enough. And I am worth something and I'm going to do something about it.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, you are the only person that is going to change you.
Yeah.
I can sit here and tell you can sit here and tell people, this is what you need to do. This is who you need to be. This is how you need to act. And they're not going to do it because it's not their answers. We aren't them. So my job is to sit there and ask the questions so that the person finds the answers themselves.
Yeah, because I couldn't do it on my own. I couldn't find the answers without somebody going, like we've just said there, asking me the right questions at the right time and pushing me a little bit and pushing me a little bit and making me think differently.
Because the brain likes to hide it all at the back, that stuff.
Yeah.
It likes to hide it all at the back. And sometimes you know about it and sometimes you don't. And, if you do, you kind of, it's one of those things that you don't really want to talk about and you don't really want to deal about because it's hard stuff. It's the stuff that you want to hide, isn't it? And actually that's the place you need to go to be able to move yourself forward.
Yeah, you've got to face the hard stuff and the emotional stuff. And you need somebody to act as that mirror back to you because it was so easy to buy into my own beliefs of, I wasn't putting myself forward for promotions at work, even though, like I said, I've always worked in sales. So I was the highest biller. I was smashing my targets. People were desperate for me to have them on their team because I made people so much money. But I would still tell myself a story of, it's just luck. It's just luck, all this. If anybody with my sector would do this well, they would make it. And it's complete rubbish. I believed it.
Absolutely. It's great what we will believe because the brain works, doesn't it? It's amazing. The more you tell yourself something, the more it believes it. It knows no difference whether you're telling it, it's not designed for you to be happy. It's designed to keep you safe.
And I knew nothing of this. If I'd have known about this in my 20s, I would have made totally different decisions. My life would have been different if I'd have known about this stuff.
Yeah. And we don't, do we? And, that's not down to, yes, there are a lot of people in this world who have had childhoods that haven't been the best. They've been horrendous in some cases. But actually, like you said, you had what would be considered a perfectly normal, happy childhood. It's just occasional things that create these beliefs in our system as a child, and then we follow them through as adults.
Exactly.
And sometimes, as in this case, it wasn't even your belief, it was your dad's.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't meaning anything bad by it. He wanted to help you to move forward.
Exactly.
But he created a belief in you that you weren't good enough, because the brain just took that one little bit and then generalized it across the board. Helen isn't good enough.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's how we also internalize that message. Sometimes it's delivered, but we internalize it differently, because I'm so aware of how I talk to my kids and the things I say. And we all get it wrong because we're human and we're flawed. And I remember saying something to my eldest, who's 7. They were arguing, him and his brother. And you know what kids are like? Oh, but this is done. They've done this and this has done this. I went, I do not care. Meaning, I do not care about the petty arguments.
Yeah.
But he went, Mummy, you don't care about us. And it stopped me in my tracks. And I went, oh my gosh, Samuel, that is not what I meant. What I meant, and it's such an eye opener, because you hear that your message through the ears of kids who are just hearing that literal message. And it's so easy when you've got your adult brain and hindsight and experience to go back and go, actually, my dad didn't mean that. He didn't mean anything. You know, he used to say, we're walkers. We need to work, because our surname is Walker, not that we like walking. We're walkers. We need to work harder than anybody else. That was like a family motto. Now, he meant, if you want to do well, get stuck in and you know, find something you love. But I internalized that of, right, well, we're not as good as everybody else.
Yeah. It's amazing what it will do, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. But you think you're saying stuff in to motivate, and you know, think you're doing the right thing. But, you know, I could have had I've known a child, but I could have had a sister who could have heard the same message.
Yeah.
But internalized it completely different. It might have really motivated her, like, yes. I mean, I suppose it did motivate me. But I went the other way and became a workaholic.
Yeah. Which is exactly what I did to prove that I was good enough. This constant, you know, because I believed I was stupid. I believed I wasn't good enough. I believed I wasn't worthy. I believed I wasn't pretty. I believed I wasn't lovable. You know, all of those things. And therefore, you're desperately trying to prove this to everybody else and pretending to be different people with different people, because you just want to be liked and noticed and, you know, actually somebody care for you. But all that does, because you're pretending to be somebody else, is attract vibrationally people that aren't actually looking for the real Jenny. They're looking for the Jenny that I'm portraying out there.
Yeah. And I've probably spent a lifetime molding myself into people like exactly as you just explained. I'll talk to that person that way and this person this way. And I suppose now, I mean, I'm 45 now, and I've got to a stage where I'm of the mindset now of, this is me. If you do not like me, you know, there's an unsubscribe button and we don't have to talk.
Yeah.
You know, and actually what the refreshing thing about all of this is, when I was at work, working for somebody, and when I first started my business and I was trying to be everything to everybody and mold myself into the person they want, business felt hard. Getting clients felt hard. And then one day I went, enough's enough, sod it. This is me. If you don't like me, then bugger off.
Yeah.
And this amazing thing happened that more clients wanted to work with me because they liked the real me. Better than this pretend version, this perfect, never get out wrong version, where as soon as I went, do you know what? I'm human. I mess up. Things go tits up every day. Even with my clients, I'll go, actually, I've made a total mistake there. I've ballsed up. Hang on, they love me for it.
Yeah. Because you're real.
Real.
Yeah.
Honest. They can trust me.
Absolutely. And it's a big thing, isn't it? You know, I'm more than happy to share my experiences of how my life has gone to show that, you know, that's why I do this podcast, because I want different people's experiences to come out into the world to show you, you know, you're not alone.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of us that are going through this, and actually not because of anybody's fault often. There isn't the blame there. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I removed blame from everything and just could look at things and go, okay, because what went on in my past, I don't know what was going on in those people's heads.
Yeah.
I just know what was going on in mine.
Exactly.
I take responsibility for how I reacted to what went on, because that's down to me.
Yeah.
And when you start doing that and you have that self-responsibility, you don't have blame going on, then you can look at life very, very differently, can't you?
Yeah. Well, it allowed me to go, who do I want to be? Who is the real me? And if truth be told, it took me a few years to work it out. Because I
get lost along the way, don't it? It's a long time of being lost, isn't it?
Well, for 35 years, I was not me.
Yeah.
So for the last 10 years, I've gone, well, who am I then? And it's still work in progress.
And I think it's always going to be a work in progress because life changes. But I was doing something the other day. I was making a playlist up, and it's so eclectic that I found myself going, oh, should I just like one thing? And why should I like one thing? I like a bit of country, and I like a bit of classical, and I like a bit of hard rock, and I like a bit of 60s. I'm going to mix it all in, and so I can sit there and go and be lit up by all of these different genres. That's okay. Just because I can't sit here and go, oh, I'm a rock and roll fan. I am, but I'm also a classical fan. I'm also a country. You can be whatever you like. And finding those parts of you, for me, the moment where something comes up and I think, oh, that's I've just had a negative thought come through my head like that. I should just like one thing. No, hang on a minute. Is that true?
Yeah.
It's true. Jenny, do you want to be a sheep in amongst all the other sheeps, or do you just want to be you? Which is why my business is called Just Being Me.
Yeah.
And
I think as well, removing this idea that, without getting too deep, that society gives you, that there's almost this rule book of how you should be and how you should, what professional is and what you should wear and how you should speak and all this stuff, that these unwritten rules that we get given subconsciously, almost going, well, I'm not going to buy into this anymore. I'm not going to, a classic one for me was when I worked for a company, we were told where to buy our suits, what colour shirts we could have, how long our hair would be, all these rules. So when it came to my business, I work from home, I work in my kitchen. I love having this freedom. Sometimes it'll be a coffee shop, sometimes it'll be a kitchen, sometimes somewhere else. But I would rock up to Zoom calls, or when I first started face to face, in a suit. But I'm not a suit wearing person. I hate them feeling restricted, and I hate them. So I was like, why am I wearing these? I like a hoodie or a jumper. I like jeans. I love slippers. So why am I showing up as this, air quotes, professional person? That's not me.
Yeah.
And even
that's interesting as well, isn't it? Professional is seen, as you're describing it, suits and what have you. And actually, I'm professional and I don't ever wear a suit.
Exactly. And like the hours that I would work. So again, very, very hardcore sales environment. Our core working hours, 8 in the morning till 7 at night. That was what you did. When I set up my own business, I thought, well, I won't do those crazy hours, but I'll do 9 till 6. And every day I'd be sat at my desk, right, it's 9 o'clock. Well, I'm here till 6. And then one day I just thought, but why? This is not my rules. I don't want to be chained to a desk for all those hours. I want to go to a coffee shop today. I want to take today off. It's sunny, so I'll take the afternoon off. But it took me, as daft as it sounds, it took me a long time to break that habit.
Yeah.
Because I felt guilty.
Yeah. I a lot of my life I've spent, and I've worked evenings. I've worked evenings and weekends. And even if I was working in the evening, I would still be doing something during the day because, that's the time that you're supposed to be doing something. The fact that I'm working in the evening as well, at one point I had 4 jobs and I literally got up at 8 o'clock and I finished at 11 o'clock at night, and I was working hard because that's the way you earn money.
Yeah. Hard work, more money. Yeah.
Yes. And that's the way you do all of these things, you know. And actually now, like you say, gosh, a couple of days ago, I finished a meeting and I went, do you know, it's really lovely out there. Went out, said to the husband, should we go and get chips and sit on the beach?
Yeah, why not?
You know, because why not?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we are lucky to have the beach down the road, but that could be go and get chips and sit in the park. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's the fact that actually you take life as it comes rather than creating yourself these rules that you've rigidly got to live with. I get if you're employed by somebody, they create those rules for you.
Yeah.
As self-employed people, you know, create your own rules.
It was like yesterday. The kids got me a leaf blower for Mother's Day. I did want
As
this.
you do.
But yesterday the sun was out and I thought, you know what, I just want to get outside. And I had tremendous fun using my leaf blower. The kids were at school, so they weren't like round my ankles going, can I have a go? I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to get in the garden. And now walking out the garden, I'm like, it's really nice and tidy. But can you imagine back in the old days, well, I'll have to wait till 6 to do that.
Yeah.
Crackers. But this is what we do. So our brain kind of works against us.
It's got the brain automates, doesn't it? You see, it risk assess and then automates. So once it knows how to do something, that's what it does. And you know, you can't step outside of that box because that's what the brain has done. And it's taken me quite some time to retrain all of those sorts of rules out of my brain. You've got to find them to start off with. You've got to notice them to start off with. You notice the big ones. You notice the ones that are knocking you sideways because you feel crap.
Yeah.
But, you know, doing something like working, you know, 9 till 5 doesn't necessarily make you feel crap. But learning that actually you don't need to work that.
Yeah.
I mean, I love to work. I love to do my admin work on a Sunday morning. I love it. No, I'm not messaging. I'm not expected by anybody else. There's nothing else going on. And I'm sat here and I can go off into my world. I'm writing my book chapters. I'm, you know, sorting out all of my continued writing stuff going on. And I'm in a happy world of Jenny.
Yeah.
But, you know, Sunday's supposed to be a day of rest, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and that's a really interesting concept because on Sunday, I am lit up. I am lit up. And the times when somebody says to me, can you do that on Sunday morning? Do you want to come for a walk with me on Sunday morning? There's a part of me going, oh, no, because I really like my alone time. So I have to work out what's more valuable to me to go and do because I am lit up. So, Helen, you've told us about how your life has functioned. What is it you now do with your life?
As a job or in life?
As a job.
As a job. So I have taken all of that, I suppose, experience. And as much as I suppose I wish it didn't happen, I'm always glad it did because it got me here doing what I love.
You wouldn't be here if it hadn't have happened.
Well, exactly. So now I help business owners get seen on video and podcasts and be visible so that they can grow their business. But it's about leaning in to their uniqueness because I started off doing sales coaching and teaching like how to sell. But what I realized was people were afraid to show up and just be them. Yeah. And really that's what makes selling easy. You don't have to do sales techniques and make people buy and do all this weird, horrible stuff. You just need to make people go, this is me. Do you like me or not? Yeah. And be okay going, some people say, yes, you're my cup of tea. And some people say, not for me. And that's fine. But it's about building relationships with those people and showing up, using your personality through your own stories, building a personal brand online and connecting with those people so that when they are ready to buy and solve their problem, it's you that they think of. So sales calls, I had a sales call this morning. It was just a nice chat. We had a cup of tea and it was like, what do you need to know? She asked me questions and I said, right, I'm going to leave it with you. She went, no, I want to sign up. There was no selling. There was no, you've got to buy the.
That's the way it should be. It's a conversation.
And, I said, if you're right, then great, let's work together. But if it's not, let's not. But that's to me that's nice selling. And that all comes from being visible, showing your personality, sharing your stories, position yourself as this authority. And that's what I help people do.
That's fabulous. And thank you so much for coming and spending time with us today. We will put all of the ways to connect with Helen down below. So, if you're interested in Helen's story, or if you're interested in what Helen does as a job, please go and connect with her. Thank you so much, Helen, and we'll catch up with you again soon, I hope.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening today. If you'd like to know more, you can find all the links down below. Oh, and don't forget to press subscribe so you can catch the next one. See you soon.